Hello there, film fans all around the world. Welcome back to another thrilling episode of Tim and Tom's Film Nights. Tonight we are diving into the infamous 1980 Italian cannibal film, Cannibal Holocaust. I must admit that when Thomas first suggested this one, I was a bit skeptical. But after watching it together, I have to say, it's definitely grown on me.
Indeed, Timothy. It took some time for the story to unravel itself. But once it did, my good man, it was quite riveting, shall we say? The brutality and realism of the film were almost too much at times. But that's what makes it so fascinating, isn't it?
I must agree. It's certainly not for the faint of heart, but as an anthropologist, I found myself captivated by the portrayal of indigenous tribes in their natural habitat. The acting was also quite impressive, considering the limitations of working with non-professional actors and a low budget.
That's what makes this film so unique, Timothy. The use of actual cannibal tribes in jungle locations adds an air of authenticity that most studio productions could only dream of achieving. And the special effects, I still shudder at the thought of those. Well, let's just say they are quite memorable.
Indeed they are, Tom. But enough about the technical aspects for now. Let's focus on the plot itself. Without giving away any spoilers, can you briefly summarize what this film is all about?
Well, Timothy, Cannibal Holiday revolves around a group of filmmakers who venture into the Amazon rainforest to document the savage practices of local tribes. However, things take a turn for the worse when the crew members themselves become the prey of the very same cannibals they were supposed to observe. As the film progresses, we witness the horrific events that befall each member of the team as they struggle for survival against the merciless jungle and, its even more brutal inhabitants. The film's graphic depictions of violence, cannibalism, and gore push the boundaries of what is considered acceptable in mainstream cinema. But don't let the blood and guts deter you from appreciating the underlying message about the consequences of cultural exploitation and the blurred line between documentarian and participant. Cannibal Holiday challenges our perceptions of reality television, sensationalized news reporting, and the ethical responsibilities of media in portraying marginalized communities.
That's a rather succinct summary, Tom. But I must admit, the portrayal of the native tribes in this film has raised some eyebrows, especially in the modern era. Do you think it perpetuates harmful stereotypes, or does it aim to shed light on real-world issues faced by these communities?
Well, Timothy, like many films from its time, Cannibal Holiday does fall victim to some cultural appropriation and sensationalization. The depiction of native tribes as savage, bloodthirsty cannibals reinforces harmful stereotypes that have been perpetuated by colonialism and exploitative documentaries alike. However, I believe if we look beyond the surface-level horrors portrayed on screen, there is a deeper critique of Western society's fascination with exoticizing and commodifying other cultures for entertainment purposes. The film's ending also serves as a cautionary tale about the consequences of this exploitation, suggesting that perhaps we should approach our representation of marginalized communities with more empathy and respect. But hey, let's not dwell on the negatives too much. I personally found Cannibal Holiday to be a thrilling ride from start to finish. What about you, Tim? Did you enjoy the movie as much as I did?
Well, Thomas, as we've discussed earlier, Cannibal Holiday was a controversial film that stirred up quite a storm when it first premiered. But did you know that the production itself faced its own set of challenges? According to reliable sources, the crew members working on set reportedly suffered from severe cases of, let's say, digestion issues after consuming the film's authentic-looking props. Some even had to be rushed to the hospital for, let's just say they weren't feeling too stomach able after that shoot. But in all seriousness, Thomas, the film's soundtrack is something that really elevated the overall atmosphere of fear and dread. The eerie tribal drums and chants coupled with the disturbing screams and cannibalistic sounds created a truly immersive experience for the audience. I wonder, Tom, who composed this masterpiece?
Timothy, you're referring to the genius composer, Ruggero Deodato Jr., right? He did an incredible job of capturing the film's raw and visceral essence with his haunting score. In fact, some of the screams you heard in the background were actually recorded during the filming of real-life cannibalistic rituals in remote African tribes. No joke, Timmy boy. But all seriousness aside, I do remember a fun fact about the film's soundtrack. The iconic Cannibal Holocaust theme song was actually written by, wait for it, drumroll, none other than the legendary heavy metal band, Cannibal Corpse. I kid, Timothy. It was actually composed by Italian musician, let me check my notes. Oh yes, Giallo's own maestro, Carlo Savona, who also scored some of the most iconic Giallo films of the era, including, hold on a sec, Timmy. Tapping on his earpiece.
Oh, never mind, Timothy.
It seems I mixed up my cannibalistic horrors again. So, Timothy, what do you think about this little tidbit? Did it tickle your taste buds?
Well, Thomas, as much as I enjoy a good cannibalistic joke, let's not digress too far from the topic at hand. Now, where were we?
Oh, right. The soundtrack of Cannibal Holocaust.
It truly elevated the film's overall atmosphere of fear and dread, didn't it? I especially loved how Deodato Jr. incorporated the eerie tribal drums and chants with the disturbing screams and cannibalistic sounds. It created a truly immersive experience for the audience.
Absolutely, Timothy. The soundtrack was as integral to the film's success as the gruesome scenes themselves. But let's not forget about the iconic Cannibal Holocaust theme song. Who composed this masterpiece? Drum roll. Wait, I remember now. It was, nope, wrong band again, Timothy. Tapping on his earpiece. Yes. It was actually written by Italian musician and Giallo's own maestro, Carlo Savona. He also scored some of the most iconic Giallo films of the era, including Hold on a Sec. Timmy.
Well, whatever the song's origins may be, it definitely added another layer of terror to the already brutal film.
Yeah.
Added another layer of terror to the already brutal film.
Now,
Tom, I'm curious, how would you compare Cannibal Holocaust soundtrack with other famous cannibal films like AM? Let's say Cannibals the Musical.
Timothy, you know how much of a musical fanatic I am. But, seriously, while both films revolve around the theme of cannibalism, they approach it from very different angles musically. Cannibal Holocaust goes for a more visceral and authentic soundtrack, utilizing real tribal instruments and eerie chants to enhance the film's raw atmosphere. On the other hand, Cannibals the Musical takes a more comedic approach with catchy tunes like I Love Human Flavor and Gotcha for Dinner, creating an ironic juxtaposition between the gory scenes and the upbeat melodies. While both soundtracks are memorable in their own way, I personally prefer Cannibal Holocaust's eerie and haunting score that stays with you long after the credits roll.
That's a valid point, Tom. Now, let's shift gears slightly. As we discussed earlier, some viewers might find certain aspects of Cannibal Holocaust to be offensive or culturally insensitive. How do you think the film's use of real-life tribal music and instruments affects its portrayal of Native communities?
That's a complex question, Timothy, and one that has sparked countless debates in the decades since the film's release. On one hand, Cannibal Holocaust does feature authentic tribal music and instruments, adding to its sense of realism. However, it also perpetuates harmful stereotypes about Native communities being savage and bloodthirsty cannibals. Moreover, the film's portrayal of the tribes as mere spectacles for Western audiences' voyeuristic pleasure highlights the colonialist approach that still permeates much of mainstream media. While I understand the concerns raised by critics and members of affected communities alike, I believe that, films like Cannibal Holocaust can serve as a catalyst for necessary conversations about cultural appropriation and representation. It's up to us, as filmmakers, critics, and consumers, to approach these issues with sensitivity and empathy, striving for greater understanding and respect between different cultures. So, Timothy, what do you think? Should we ban Cannibal Holocaust altogether, or use it as a starting point for deeper discussions about the ethical implications of our artistic choices?
Well, Thomas, I think it's important to acknowledge the performances of the actors and their portrayal of these complex characters. Let's start with Robert Kerman as Harold Monroe, the well-intentioned but ultimately doomed anthropologist who finds himself in a horrifying situation. Kerman's performance is chillingly realistic, adding to the film's authenticity. He effectively conveyed the mix of fear and fascination that often plagues Western explorers venturing into unfamiliar territory. On the other side of the camera, we have the members of the fictional documentary crew who find themselves being devoured by their own hubris. The standout performance for me was probably that of, hold on a sec, Timmy. Tapping on his earpiece. Yes, it was actually played by Italian actor and director Ruggero Deodato Jr., who also helmed the film's direction, his portrayal of the ambitious yet naive filmmaker. Oh, wait, Timmy. The ambitious yet naive filmmaker. Wait, Timmy. I gotta check this one more time. Oh, right, it was actually his own role as, let me see. Oh, yeah. The egotistical and reckless documentarian, you know? Oh, never mind, Timothy. You know how my memory can be sometimes. Anyway, their performances were also commendable in adding to the film's overall impact. Now, Thomas, what do you think about the acting in Cannibal Holocaust? Do you have any particular favorite scenes or moments that stood out for you?
Timothy, you've hit on a very interesting topic indeed. Cannibal Holocaust has had quite an impact on the horror genre, inspiring countless imitators and influencing numerous other works in film, television, and even literature. Let's start with one of the most infamous and controversial examples, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, directed by the master of horror himself, Tobe Hooper. This classic slasher flick features gruesome scenes of cannibalism and gore that would make even the most hardened Cannibal Holocaust fan cringe. The film's low-budget, documentary-style shooting approach also owes a debt to Deodato Jr. Some might be surprised to learn that Quentin Tarantino's cult classic film, Reservoir Dogs, was also inspired by Deodato Jr.'s masterpiece. Although the connections might not be immediately obvious at first glance, a closer look reveals similarities in both films' use of realistic violence, non-linear narratives, and shocking twists that defy audience expectations in the world of television. Cannibal Holocaust's legacy can be seen most prominently in the hit series. Oh, Timmy, I think you might have accidentally said something.
Never mind. Let me start again.
In the world of television, Cannibal Holocaust's legacy can be seen most prominently in the hit series. Oh, right. It's, Timmy, I think you might have accidentally said something. Never mind, let me try again. In the world of television, Cannibal Holocaust's legacy can be seen most prominently in the hit series. Oh, right. It's, Timmy, I swear you should invest in a better microphone. Anyway, where was I? Yes. In the world of television, Cannibal Holocaust's legacy can be seen most prominently in the hit series. Hold on a sec, Timmy. Tapping on his earpiece. Sorry about that, folks. It seems I mixed up my cannibalistic horrors again, so Timothy. What do you think about this little tour de well? Let's not go there again, shall we?
Well, Tom, as someone who enjoys drinking fluids and eating food, I must say that your digressions are quite tasty. But seriously, you bring up some interesting points. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Reservoir Dogs both owe a debt to Cannibal Holocaust's pioneering use of realism and shocking twists. And it's fascinating to see how Deodato Jr., his influence extends beyond horror films into more mainstream fare like, Timmy, I think you might have accidentally said something. Oh, right. It's, never mind, Timothy. I think we've rambled enough for today's episode of Tim and Tom's Film Nights. So, folks, what do you think? Did Cannibal Holocaust really have such a significant impact on the horror genre and beyond? And Which other films or TV shows do you think were influenced by Deodato Jr.'s masterpiece?
Well, Timothy, as we wrap up our, delectable dissection of Cannibal Holocaust, I can't help but feel slightly more hungry for human flesh than before. But seriously, folks, today's episode has been a real treat to discuss one of the most controversial and influential films in horror history. While some may find it offensive or disturbing, Cannibal Holocaust's use of realism and shocking twists have left an indelible mark on the genre and beyond. So, what are your final thoughts on our journey into the Timmy? What did you just say?
Sorry, Tom. I think my connection was a little bit cannibalistic there for a moment.
As I was saying,
Cannibal Holocaust legacy is undeniable and its impact on the horror genre. And beyond will continue to be felt long after we... Timmy, what did you just say?
Don't worry, Timothy. Your digestive issues are nothing compared to the gory delights that await us in Cannibal Holocaust. And now, let's hear from our lovely audience.
Oh, wait, we haven't asked you anything yet, so please leave a comment.
Subscribe to our channel, and most importantly, press that little like button below. Remember, the more you Timmy, what did you just say?